No, now we're recording. So
Ruud, there's bigger frogs.
Ruud, thank you for this interview and thank you for bringing the frog. You have to show the frog again.
The frog will be, okay, swallow your frog. This is the theme for 2020.
I like it. So Ruud, introduce yourself for those that don't know you real quick.
Okay, so my name is Ruud Janssen. I'm the managing partner and co-founder of the Event Design Collective. And Dahlia always makes me laugh because her husband is also called Ruud, right? And I remember we met at an MPI event in Vancouver, and I was getting drinks from a food truck. This was very new back in 2010 to have a food truck. And then and we were doing virtual events and hybrid events at the time already.
I remember
you pronouncing my name so well, none of the other 1,000 people could. And I was like, I was so surprised.
So the food trucks and virtual events were a new thing a decade ago.
I know, yeah. You know what's interesting? And at IBTM in 2009, I think it was 2009, with Sam Smith. I don't remember Sam Smith, not the singer, but the other one, Samuel J. Smith. Yep. He used to live here in Switzerland. And we did a presentation at IBTM in 2009, which was called Worlds Collide. I think it was something like that. And we had the Venn diagram of the live and the virtual events meeting in the middle and the hybrids event in the middle. And this is the time of the event camps and all that crazy stuff where we experimented with hybrid events.
And look at us now, we're doing it all over again for real.
And now everybody's in the hybrid event space, right?
So let's talk hybrid for a second. What is the main challenges that event organizers are going to face in the 2020s? Not in 2020, 2021, but like in the next decade.
This next decade.
Let's leapfrog, no pun intended. Let's leapfrog the 2020 that we're in.
You ready?
Yes.
There it is. It's a leapfrog. Good. So let's leapfrog into the future. So it was funny. I was just watching, there was a tweet yesterday by Vint Cerf, the guy that came up with the idea of doing the internet together with a whole number of other people. And he posted a video of Walter Cronkite in, I think 53 years ago, showing what the home office of the future would look like, right? I retweeted it just now, but I wondered, because that was 53 years ago, and he was showing this big device which had paper coming out of it, and then they had a device which could tell you what the weather was going to be, and it had a device where you could press a button and then video would go on and you could talk to somebody, and then they had a device where you could see the stock market and see the exact, it was amazing. It was like 3 computer screens. It looks just like my office today, right? The only difference probably is at the time there was no internet, and so all of it was like green text, like on teletext, if you remember what that looks like. So I think the biggest challenge right now, I think, Dahlia, for most people that I'm running into in this year and the next decade, it is I think finding the digital dexterity and finding not just their own digital dexterity, but the digital dexterity of their community, and making sure they're in a place and a space where they're all comfortable to eat their frog.
So explain to people what eating frogs is. It's not a Swiss thing.
No.
What does it mean?
Although there is here in the Jura, which is not far from here, right? There's 2 weeks of the year where frogs' legs are being served at restaurants because it's only fresh in those 2 weeks of the year. But this has nothing to do with that.
Okay. So it's not
the whole eat your frog thing is about, there's something that people really dislike about, going from one thing to the next. And in our event design certificate programs, we have this step where our geek community gets together called the masterminds. And last year we did the first one, and on the last day we ate our frogs, and that's why we all have a frog sitting on our microphones. And whenever we get together and talk about difficult stuff like how to eat your frog, it's about the stuff you find hard to do but still have to do first. So the thing that most people find hard to do in 2020 right now is to get their office in order so that they're super comfortable inviting the event into their home, right? And then having the having the audacity, I guess, to select for other people what platform they would like to be using.
Instead of
And
the
the
other
hardest
way
thing
around?
for people in 2020, in this winter, or actually this year, has been, I think, going through these virtual platform demos and selecting and then proposing what technology will work best. Because it's much easier to talk about technology prototypes than to figure out the narrative of your event and figure out what you're actually trying to do. I think that's one of the biggest challenges people have. So how do you step away from the painful job of selecting technology without knowing what it's supposed to be doing? And this is like Walter Cronkite trying to figure out what virtual platform he should use in 2020, right? Knowing what he knew 53 years ago, looking at those 5 computer screens and everybody going, this guy must be crazy. Yet,
So with
53
that,
later.
absolutely. And I also agree with you. I will put on there that, event organizers have a hard time not only selecting their narrative or designing their narrative, but designing, the content as well as just new ideas versus what they usually did in an annual conference. I do see our clients, doing their best and actually doing more now on the design side, but the experience and the brain width within the organization might be needs to shift a bit. But with the challenges, there's these opportunities. So what's the main opportunity that they have in the next decade?
I think if they get a little bit creative, which is not very difficult, because you can put people in playful mode very quickly, right? Just look at Oprah Winfrey and Barack Obama, right? Playing footsie, digital footsie in front of the fireplace. What do they need? 2 identical chairs, some lighting, a green screen, right? On 2 ends of a country. And all of a sudden it looks stunning, right? People love talk shows between people that can have good talks. That's all you need to do. And that's what our research showed. Remember the research we did in 2012, 2013 said that, right? Yeah. If we think like TV producers or like sports producers, and we have, sideline interviews, we have talk show formats, we review what happened in the main session. If you have speakers that can have good conversation, that's all people want.
Absolutely. So on the flip side, even though the challenge accepted by the event technology companies right now, you see a boom in platforms, et cetera. So what is the main challenge that they have at the moment within the next decade?
The tech industry, you mean?
Yes, event tech.
I think rethinking how the event enters the home of the participants, I think is one of their core challenges, right? So it's breaking through the screen of the actual camera, that's in front of you, or, this is my limitation, right? And that's everyone's limitation. Mm-hmm. And if everybody has to figure out everything on their own, there's only one place in technology that will get a lot of traction, and that's Google and YouTube, right? Because everybody needs to know what cable to buy and what camera to use and what microphone and how to do this and how to connect that and what license they need. And everybody's finding out the wheel at the same time, at the same speed, but some are going faster than others. And this is the classic thing that happens.
Yeah.
So I think the job of tech companies is making user-centric decisions about not just connecting people, but connecting them to the best of what's currently available. We have solid internet in a lot of places. That's not our biggest problem, at least for half of the planet, right? The other half is still disconnected, so it's an issue. And then equipping people with the right stuff. It's not rocket science. It's actually super simple. But like getting the level playing field and using that and making choices, like, please just do good audio. How difficult can it be, right?
Yeah.
Skip the video for now. Then we'll add video as a second thing, and then we'll add the other stuff, like the whole skeuomorphic virtual platform thing. Why would I want to go into a trade show floor if I'm at home? I don't want to do that, right?
Not even as an avatar with purple hair. Come on, Ruud.
Not my hobby. I would say design a wine cellar, invite me there, right? And then ship me a bottle of whatever, 1962 Côte d'Estournel or something, and then we'll talk.
During the 2 weeks of frog's legs, that you have. See, there you go. Now I see where. Okay, so this lends
put this frog not on the mic, but put it in a pan, and then, like, how could we design that space that we were just talking about, right? And have a dinner, like Dahlia, you and I should have dinner, like a virtual dinner. And it should feel like we're almost playing footsie under the table and having frog's legs and drinking proper drinks, right? How cool would that be?
That would be amazing. And so my next question to you is, there's this other layer of hybrid that, event organizers and tech companies are going to find as a challenge as well. So what is your one piece of advice or insight on that? Since if we want to have wine and frog's legs together, I mean, I'll give you my frog's legs because I'm not a big fan, but that's okay. I want your company. I don't want the frogs per se. But what I'm asking is, just with that lens, what's hybrid going to be like? What do they need to focus on? There's a lot of layers there.
It was funny. We were doing an event last week, 2 weeks ago, which was designed initially to take place in Budapest, and then it took place online. And it was all about family businesses and how families get together around stuff. And I think the opportunity of people opening their homes to other people to have events together, right? So if we can bring the concept of basic family hospitality together with the power of events, that's a pretty unbreakable duo, right? But it's pretty intrusive.
Yeah.
Like, my wife complains about, like, your office is starting to look like some strange place with a lot of wires, right? If I would tell her I need to bring this into my dining room or into my kitchen, like, that stuff's got to be invisible.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want green curtains hanging around my paintings and, no daylight and bloody, floodlights and God knows what. I think the technology we have is so obtrusive and so poor. It's so clunky, right?
Yeah.
It should get so much better, so much quicker. And I think we're getting there, but it's being held back by the people that make, HDMI wires and tripods. I think, those are the people that are blocking the way of just improving life for us as participants to events. Because they make too much money off of all the wrong wires that we buy.
That's true. I mean, they should make more money in the strategy and the design, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I think there's much more. I prefer to spend my time there, and that's what we do. But I think more people should spend more time there, because then the decisions you take about what you need in terms of technology or stuff becomes very simple. That's not rocket science, really. It's just it's very opaque at the moment, and it's made opaque because people don't have the digital dexterity yet that you could have. It's kind of like. Because we've been doing hybrid events and virtual events, like Dahlia, like you, for a long time, it's become more or less transparent to us. But to many, it's still very opaque, like what the options are, especially to many decision makers who own the events and then get their staff to go and figure out their alternatives of what should we do. And they're super overwhelmed. And then they go to their boards, and the boards are even more overwhelmed because they're just concerned that it won't work, right? And there's all roadblocks.
And they're concerned about money, and they're concerned about member dues and all the other stuff. So that gets
all the business model stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you and I, we were, it was 2016 where Control-Alt-Delete happened actually in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And that whole design of hub and spoke, where it was like maybe 16 cities and it was virtual. And I think it was primarily, it was a mission because of the content and because of the community. And then the design wrapped itself around there. And then the technology, I mean, was not a a biggie. We talked, what did we use? We used GoToWebinar, for God's sake. But I mean, it was like 1,000+ people and they were all together in little pods. But it worked because I think that people wanted the content and wanted the connection and did not want to lose that opportunity of absorbing that experience, no matter where. If they're alone, if they're in their office, did they go around the boardroom and got together? Did they go to Amsterdam and got together, or in Canada, you know, stuff like that. So I think people need to also flip how they look at their events and start with.
But Dahlia, don't you think that also happened because the people that were involved in that trusted each other from the get-go?
That's a big.
That's a big thing, right? So
a huge thing.
If you've never met any of those people that go there, and I was just listening to a podcast by some friends in Canada who were talking, you know, about C2 and, you know, how they flip their thing and all of that. And then the reluctance on something that has a certain brand value or something that has a certain function within a certain community. Like very often the event is the legitimacy to break bread, right? And break bread is just like a nice little thing we do on the side. It happens to be super important, but going to an event together, traveling to a place together, and then meeting there has something super magical about instant trust factors.
Yep.
Like, even if you haven't met there, but you know you were both there, then you must both be good people, right? Because you made the same choice in life of going to that event.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going to the same digital event doesn't have that same impact yet, or doesn't have that same pedigree yet, because we haven't designed them to the level where they could be or should be. And technology lag is only one of the, or not lag, technology hurdles or perceived hurdles are one of the things that some people think are in the way. I don't think they are in the way. I think it's a human, and I think it's like we're not able to cope with all of this stuff. Like many people have cognitive overload because they're not used to being on Zoom for a long time a day. We've been doing this for 10 years. I'm fine with it. I'm absolutely fine with it. I don't experience the same kind of issues. What I love doing is like I go to an event, I switch it off in pause mode for an hour. I go have dinner with my family. I can go walk my dogs in the mountains, and I get back, and off we go again. Right?
Yeah.
I'm over. Let's say the shortcoming. But it takes training. It takes a lot of hours. It takes maybe the 10,000 hours or more. And I think that's something that's going to change in the next couple of years. I think many, many more people are going to have the digital dexterity, are going to have properly equipped home studios, are going to have proper mics, proper cameras, proper production skills to be able to do whatever is that, some people are selling for a fortune right now will be available to just about anyone because it's made possible. So I think that's going to create a big shift for expert providers, but there will always be a market for the top tier production levels for the super refined cream of the crop, like top thing. But the more events we're going to have, the more digital events we're going to have, the good news is there's going to be so many that there's going to be more cream on the crop, cream on the top as well. So I think it's like the internet. There's a lot of garbage, but because there's so much, ultimately the quality in absolute sense increases, right?
Yeah. You
just have to cut through the layers of crap. That's
And then you gravitate and you bring those that you trust and want to break bread with to those events or those experiences, and then you can have your own exchange even without start and end dates for the experience. Yep. So that's the ultimate goal.
I think the 6 degrees of separation in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
is being jerked into like 2 or 3 degrees of separation in the digital world. And that's what's shocking everyone.
Yeah.
Many people can't deal with it. And it's interesting to see what it's going to look like in 53 years or maybe even 5 years, right? Yeah.
Perfect.
I think it's exciting times.
I like that. I think it's exciting times, and definitely it's a shift. It's a mind shift for many. It's an energy shift as well. I think people are mentally trying to grasp what else is going on in their world, which has to be taken in consideration when designing events, to be honest. So, but all right. Any last minute insights? Any last minute frog phrases you want to share?
I'm good. It's not easy being green, right? So
not easy.
I think we have to think about that a lot as well. It's like, how do we make what we do more resilient, more sustainable, more there's so much power in events. We can apply it in so many ways. They're just kind of idle right now. I think there's so many things we could be doing. And I'm sure we're going to be doing them pretty soon. We just need to like unpause and start flying again.
Perfect.
Well, not literally flying again. I mean, that would be nice from time to time. My land legs are getting the better of me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, it was great chatting.
It was fun, Dahlia, as usual.
Yeah, this was fun. Frogs and all. So thank you, Ruud.
Thank you, Dahlia.